Okay. Here we go. We're going to go through this problem carefully, and we're going to get your questions answered. Then we're going to continue with our work from yesterday that we started yesterday briefly. Okay, so here we go. First thing I would hope that you would have done is factor this denominator right here. Does that seem reasonable to everybody? Now, what are we going to multiply everything by to get rid of every denominator? What are we going to have to multiply by to make that happen? X minus 2, x plus 1. All right, kids, every single one. Now, this cancels, leaving me with 3x times x minus 2. This cancels, leaving me with 5 times x plus 1. That cancels, leaving me with 15. Everybody still on target? So now we FOIL, or not FOIL, distribute. So we get 3x squared minus 6x plus 5x plus 5 equals 15. Several of you did not put plus 5 here for some reason. Now let's clean this equation up, get it set equal to 0. 3x squared, what do these make? Minus x. Now we're going to do this 15, minus it over, so minus 10. So if you have this equation, you are on target heading toward the right answers. Obviously, if you do not have this equation, then your answers are going to be off. This problem does factor. However, many of you use the quadratic formula instead, probably because you couldn't tell a factor. These are weird numbers. So if we use the quadratic formula, x will equal a is 3, b is negative 1, c is negative 10. So x will equal 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 times 3 times negative 10. Now I think it's time that we stop messing this up. When you square negative 1, b squared. When you square negative 1, it is positive. This is always going to be positive because it's b squared. All over 2a. So what have we got under here? 4 times 3 is 12, times 10 is 120. But that's negative 120. 1 minus negative 120. 1 minus negative 120 would be 121.
Oh. It's just one little.
Square root of 121 is 11. So we have two answers, 1 plus 11 over 6, which is 12 over 6, which is 2. And 1 minus 11 over 6, which is negative 10/6 or negative 5/3. Beep, 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 beep. My little extraneous root radar. Because what about 2? Gives you 0. So the only answer to the problem is negative 5/3. Did you find your mistake, Zach?
Yeah, I did.
Were you putting your hand up or just?
Oh, no, just straight.
Okay. So everybody found your mistake?
Yes, ma'am.
Moses, you found your mistake?
I just said factor right.
Oh, that's a big deal. Oh, by the way, it does factor, so the factoring would have been 3x, x, 5 and 2 minus and plus. So that would have been the factoring.
What was that on?
6. All right, everybody good?
Can I take a picture of that?
Yes. All right, now, let's get our note sheets out. Next week, hopefully we're going to finish today. If we don't finish today, we'll finish on Monday. So we will be having a test next week at the end of the week, either Thursday or Friday. Okay? And speaking of next Friday, what's special about next Friday? Your papers review. Some of them are starting to come in. They're really good. I hope you are working on page 22. Note sheets, page 22, problem number 4. Listen to me carefully. Every time you have an inequality that is a less than or greater than, at some point, you're going to do a number line. You are not going to solve an inequality, kids, without a number line. Let me say that again. On your test next week, there will be some equations that have inequalities in them. Not like the quiz. The quiz question was an equals, right? If it has an inequality symbol, you will be drawing a number line. Now, how do we figure out what to put on that number line? Or put some dots on there. How do we figure out how to do that? Well, look at your problem. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to factor it. It factors pretty easily into x plus 4, x minus 1. Right? So here's my number line. I'm going to put 2 dots on that number line, and they are open dots. And where will those 2 dots be? At 1 and negative 4. Now, do you remember from yesterday? I know we did it quickly. What did we do yesterday at this point?
Put points inside and outside the...
Exactly. So I don't care. Pick a point. Let's pick a point in here. 0 would be a point in here. Let's put 0 into our problem. What does 0 do to that first parentheses? Makes it a positive 4? The 4 is not really important to me, but it's positive. What does 0 do to the second parentheses? Makes it negative. What happens when I multiply? This is a multiply problem. What happens when I multiply a positive times a negative? I get a negative. Is that what I am looking for in this problem? No. What does greater than 0 mean? Positive. This did not work. Now, were you listening to Jamal yesterday? What did Jamal say yesterday that could be a huge time saver for us?
If they're not squared, then it's either going to be going out.
Exactly. If this section didn't work, then that automatically means this one will and this one will. Because like Jamal said, the sections are going to alternate. Work, not work, work. Or not work, work, not work. As long as your factors don't have any squares or anything weird going on. If that's confusing to you, Then pick another number, check this space, and check this space. But I'm telling you, as long as there's no squares here, every other section is going to work. As soon as we figured out this one didn't, I know these are going to. So my answer is everything less than -4 or greater than 1. Let's try the next one. See if we can eliminate some confusion here. How do you think we shall start? Let's factor it. How does this one factor? -4, -3. Everybody okay with that? So here's my number line, because I will not ever do one of these without a number line. On the number line will be 2 dots. This time, those dots are going to be filled in, aren't they? And where will they be? At 3 and 4? Can I use 0 again? 0 is such a handy number to use. Can I use it again? Yeah, as long as I recognize 0's out here this time, right? So if I put 0 in, what am I going to have? A negative times a negative. If I put 0 in, does negative times negative work for me? Yes. So this works. This doesn't. This does. So x is less than or equal to 3, or x is greater than or equal to 4. You feel okay with that? All right, now we've got a big one. This is a monster. What's your thought? Gary?
We set you up and then factor.
Yeah, we gotta get factors. So your thought, Harry, is factor by grouping. I love to factor by grouping. I want you to look at it carefully. You think it's going to work? Remember, what's the key to factoring by grouping? Whatever you take out here and whatever you take out here has to leave you with what? What has to happen? These have to match, right? With that combination of numbers, I don't think it's going to match. Shooty tooty. What do we do if it doesn't factor by grouping? Think back. We have to guess and synthetically divide. Oh, brother. You guys are good at guessing. What do you think might work?
2.
2? Okay, unless I made a mistake, you weren't such a good guesser.
3.
3? Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
On my number line, then, one of the dots will have to be at 3. I'm not sure where to put it. So I'll put it here for now, but just to remember it, but I may have to move it. Why do you think there's 3 dots? Because I'm going to have 2 more. This is an x cubed. So I've got x squared plus x minus 2 I factor that? Where are my other dots then? Is that okay? Now, this is the tricky part. Here are your factors. Kids, there are 3 of them. X plus 2, x minus 1, and what's that third factor? X minus 3. Don't forget, there are 3 factors. And you want to end up less than 0. What does that mean? Less than 0 means negative. So pick a number, any number that's not a dot. 0? 0 is a great number. 0's in here. You're picking a number in here. This is where 0 is. 0 would make you positive times negative times negative. What happens when you multiply a positive times a negative times a negative? You end up positive. But that's not what I wanted to end up with, right? So that isn't going to work, which means this section will, this section will, and this section won't. They alternate. So as soon as we discovered this section didn't, we knew this one did and this one did. So my answer is less than or equal to negative 2, or between 1 and 3. That is a major problem. And the good news is there's another one. So let's see if you have an idea on how to do this one. Do you remember what Harry suggested on the last one? I wonder if this one will factor by grouping. This looks a little more promising, doesn't it? Let's take an x squared out. Does everybody understand what I'm doing?
Yeah.
What shall I take out of here? Good news? So I have x plus 3 times what? What about that? Katie, I know you're more excited than you are. Everybody follow all that? Okay, what happens now? I draw my number line. I never do one of these problems without a number line. So I'll draw my number line. And I'll have 3 open dots. And where will they be this time? My 3 open dots. Negative 3, negative 2, positive 2. Do these have to be in this order?
Yeah.
On the number line they do. You want to use 0 again?
Yeah.
And it's right in here this time, right? So what would 0 do for me? 0 would make me positive, positive, and negative. what do I want to be? Greater than 0 means positive. Is this going to give me positive? No. So this did not work. What does that mean? That this one works and this one works? So -3 to -2 or greater than 2. What do you think? You okay with that? Okay, we're going to try the next one. It looks different. Before I erase this, are there any questions? Because the next one looks different. Katie?
I just like kind of confused on how to write it.
If it's like the arrow part of the number line, then it's just either x is greater than that number or x is less than that number, period. If it's a section that's between two numbers, you always write down the two numbers, put an x in between, and it's always less than. Always less than. Or equal to if it had an equal to on it. But these are always less than symbols. All right. Who has a thought on the next one?
This will be a cute one.
What? Why are you guys so bored and tired today? I'm wearing my tie-dye dress to be all excited for big and bigger. Well, I'll tell you, this is super simple. You go straight to the number line, and you're going to put two dots on that number line. Any idea where those two dots will be? Look at the problem, take a wild guess, and you'll be right. The dots are at -1 and 3. -1, 3. What does less than 0 mean? Negative. Pick a number. Let's continue with 0. 0. 0 would make the top of my fraction positive, but it would make the bottom of my fraction negative. Is that the kind of answer I want? So that works. Answer, -1 less than x less than 3. This problem is just like the one we did, except instead of the factors being written next to each other, they're written on top of each other. Does not change how you do the problem. We're now on number 9. What do you think is going to happen with number 9? We have to what? Factor. So the top is +3 minus 3, and the bottom is +2 minus 2. What does that mean in terms of my number line? 4 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. Where will those 4 dots be? -3 and 3. And -2 and 2. Now take a minute and make sure you've got them in the right order on the number line. I know that sounds silly, but with that many dots, sometimes we get them out of order. What does this mean, greater than 0? Positive. So I'm looking for a positive result this time. Here's 0, right? So if I put in 0, I'd have positive times negative over positive times negative. That ends up positive, which is what I Wanted? So I'm gonna color that in. All right, now what else gets colored in? That got colored in, this does not, but this does? That got colored in, this does not, but this does? Now, I have forgotten one thing. Can you tell me what it is, Mr. Brokaw? The circle should be filled in because it's an or equal to. But only the 3 and the -3 are going to get filled in. Can somebody tell me why? Even though there's an or equal to, I'm not coloring in the denominator dots. Join in. Exactly. Can x be 2, kids? Would it be all right for x to be 2? No, because you cannot have a 0 in the denominator. So this is really tricky. This is really tricky. But even though there's an or equal to, you will never, ever color in dots that come from the denominator. Dots that come from the denominator will always be open, no matter what. Because you can't have a 0 down there. All right, so Katie, my answer is going to be all the x's less than or equal to -3. Or the x is in between -2 and 2. Or the x is greater than or equal to.
Do you have to write all of them?
Oh yeah, you do. The whole thing is the answer. All right, we're going to do one more. We're going to save number 11 and the word problems for Monday, but we're going to do number 10 right now. Is there anything about number 10 that looks different from the 2 we just did that were fractions like this? The 4. What was this in the other problems? In fact, what was this in every one of our inequalities? A 0. We need this to be a 0. I'm going to say that again. That number has to be a 0. So we are going to subtract 4 so that we have a 0. Now, this 4 is 4 over 1. Would you agree with that? How in the world am I going to simplify this? I have this fraction minus 4 over 1. What am I going to do to get that simplified? John? Well, x minus 3 is going to be involved. I need a common denominator. If I'm going to subtract fractions, I need a common denominator, don't I? Pay attention. GTQ. You will have to do this on your test. So we are going to multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction by x minus 3. These need to match. So this one has an x minus 3, this one doesn't. So I'm multiplying the top and the bottom by x minus 3. So on the bottom now, both fractions have an x minus 3. So I can write them as one big giant fraction. X plus 2 minus 4 times x minus 3. That is my one giant fraction. I took the 4, subtracted it, multiplied top and bottom by x minus 3. Now my denominator is x minus 3, and on top I have x plus 2 minus 4 times x minus 3. Everybody with me? So now I'm going to clean this up, this numerator. All right, so So what's that gonna look like? X plus 2 minus 4x plus 12. What's that equal?
Negative 3x plus 10, or plus 14.
Two dots on the mark. I think everybody can see where the denominator dot comes from, or what the denominator dot would be. What would the denominator dot be? 3? That's easy. This one's harder, right? So you can do it in your head if you want. I always write it down over to the side, set it equal to 0, and solve it. So negative 3x equals negative 14, and x equals 14/3. And 14/3 is what? 4 2/3. I need to think about that because I need to know where to put the 3 and where to put the other number. There's an or equal to in the problem. Should I color in any of these dots?
4 and 2/3.
The 4 2/3. Denominator dots never get colored, ever. Can I use 0 again? Yeah, I can use 0. And I want to be negative. So here we go. If I put 0 in, my numerator is positive, and my denominator is negative. I get positive 14 over negative 3. Does that work for me? So that works. Doesn't? Does. X is less than 3 or greater than or equal to 1. That's enough for the day. That's a lot. You got some homework problems to do. Please do them. And we will wrap everything up on Monday.